What's going on, everybody? This is Kota for Jake Hazen. I'm with my boy Kota for JD or VFC, whatever he goes by
Yeah, we're going by
nowadays.
both these days, so that's new.
So we're coming with a whole new style, different podcast here in the network. It's gonna be a lot shorter, a lot sweeter, 15, 20 minutes every week. And we're gonna teach you how to bet the nasty, ugly stuff, the stuff you don't want to bet. This game's like, oh my god, this team looks so free, -6.5 against a shitty team. We're going to show you how to really go on the opposite side of that, how to read a line, how to read a market. We're going to rarely talk about the X's and O's, maybe just a little football brain involved in this, but we're most going to teach you the contrarian or the quote unquote sharp side versus square, whatever that argument is. And yeah, so whole new style. We're going to show you how to get really, really, really nasty. The stuff that you don't want to take, but sometimes you just got to grow up, man up, and just bet a terrible team.
I love it, man. And yeah, for anybody listening too, if you want to get into the X's and O's, we've got the Not Another CFB pod here. We've got the College Football Central show. Those guys are going so into depth on the games, and I'm even part of one of the panels at the CFB College Football Central show. And yeah, so go check those out if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But for us, we are just talking about lines. We're talking about lines, and like Jake said, maybe like a super quick hitter analysis, but this is almost all about the lines. We are both contrarian bettors. We are both taking the sides that you don't want to take in these games. And, hopefully we're just going to have success doing that. And you guys can follow in our footsteps or, fade us and be square. Go ahead. I don't care. So, yeah, Jake, you want to just kick us off into some games here?
All right. Well, we're going to kick it off with the Friday game. You already know everyone loves their Friday action. We got two games now. We have the Air Force and Wyoming game and the Florida State Louisville game. That Air Force game, the contrarian side in that is Wyoming, but sometimes you got to just wait up and don't pull the trigger because I think Air Force is so damn good that I'm just not going to fade them this year. Just doesn't matter how contrarian they are. Kind of like how the Orioles this year, I learned my lesson. Fade that team all year and they stole so much money for me in baseball. So we're going to go and segue over to the Florida State Louisville game. Now, I was on both these sides. I bet these guys. Sorry. I bet these teams in every game they played, basically. So I have Florida State against LSU. And talking about that game is why I'm taking Louisville. So nobody was high on Florida State to start this year. Nobody liked them. And no one really liked LSU too. But the people saw the SEC versus ACC matchup, and people are always going to side with the SEC. That's one thing in betting college football. People are very heavy on conferences. They bet conferences a lot. And FSU, we saw what happened. They won that game. Now everyone loves Florida State. Jordan Travis already won the Heisman. My ticket already cashed, so I have that in my back pocket. And that's why I'm going to fade them. Everyone loved Louisville going into this season too until they got their shit kicked in by Syracuse. Everyone wanted to fade Louisville against UCF, but they're going to use this excuse as a group of five school, not a real test. They were 6-point underdogs. So right now, a lot of people are all over Florida State, and they're hanging this line at 2.5, and it opened at 2. Some books say 1.5. I know majority of them open at 2. I was looking at this line really early, and the line's only moved half a point into juice towards Louisville, despite having 87% of the bets on them and 97% of the money. So in this game, I'll be taking Louisville plus 2.5. It's nasty. Not many people are on it, and that's exactly why I am. You got any opinions on this, JD?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from this one personally. I kind of want to see these teams duke it out and just have some emotion in it. But yeah, like you said, everybody and their mother's on Florida State in this game, and it makes sense. I kind of get it. But Louisville at home, they looked good last week. I think they carry that momentum over. And again, they're getting 3% of the money. Like, you're telling me that that I'm not going to take that? That's delicious. So yeah, I like Louisville in this one, gun in my head.
It's what's called a good overreaction spot.
I love it.
So another game we're going to briefly touch on is this Indiana Western Kentucky game. When I first saw this line, I'm like, okay, I love Western Kentucky. Then throughout the week, I see this Western Kentucky end up being super, super public, and I was just shocked. I was lost for words. I mean, Indiana, they beat Illinois, and both those teams aren't good. I guess watching that game, you're going to leave the impression both those teams kind of suck. Western Kentucky was Zappy last year. I know they returned about everybody except for Zappy. So they're still a solid team, but I'm not going to fade Western Kentucky in the spot. I lean Indiana, but I think this is a game where the public is going to eat in the quote unquote sharps. Let's just say contrarian. The contrarian side is going to look silly.
Yeah, I think you're kind of dead on there. Indiana, obviously not. It's not a tough place to play. probably won't feel like a true road game. It's not super far away from Western Kentucky. I don't know. I feel like Western Kentucky is going to go in there. They should be able to score points against Indiana. And over under 61.5. I don't think Indiana is going to carry a lot of that. I mean, their offense isn't anything special, but yeah, I think you're right. I think the public is going to get this one right. So I'm on Western Kentucky as well. I like them, I should say.
Moving on to the next, UCLA and University of South Alabama. Now, a lot of people like South Alabama. They're going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be getting cute, fading UCLA. Because like I mentioned earlier, people love to bet conferences. The one people love to do, they love to fade the Pac-12. And I've been doing the opposite here. I've been tailing the Pac-12 pretty heavily outside in the crappy schools like Colorado and Arizona, even though they cover, but Arizona State, like teams that suck. I avoid those, but like teams that are somewhat formidable, like UCLA, I've been backing all year. And I see this line open at 13.5. UCLA is public, but the line moved to 15.5. And like I said, and one thing to bring up, the bet percentages and stuff, you have to take with a grain of salt because it's sponsored by the books.
By the
right?
books.
So the books don't want you to win money. So a lot of things is going to be a little skewed, but UCLA getting these points here, no one likes UCLA. UCLA they always suck. They're never good. They returned a lot of guys, but lost a lot of talent as well. So I'm going to be back them pretty heavily this year, and I may have a UCLA to win the Pac-12 South in my back pocket to start this season at like plus 450. So
I like it. Yeah, I think a lot of people were on South Alabama last week. Well, actually, I was on South Alabama last week, or I liked them. They were 5.5-point dogs, won outright by 14. They look pretty good, and I think this is a perfect letdown spot for them. This line has moved up 1.5 towards UCLA, and like you said, you have to take the bet percentages and money with a grain of salt. But if you're looking at an app like Action, it shows you the bet percentages and money for the bets that have been placed through their app. So that's something that's interesting to me. And through Action, UCLA is getting 51% of the money with a little bit higher percentage of the bets. I want to say it's like 64. And I don't know. I like UCLA as well. There's a reason that this total has moved up 1.5. This is a classic letdown spot for South Alabama. So yeah, UCLA.
Here is something really nasty. And here's been the biggest quotes I'm going to teach you about, and the quote is fake sharp, a line that looks sharp on the surface, but it's actually really attractive to the public eye. And there's two games where I break down. I'm going to use that word. And one of those games is going to be Notre Dame -11. I'm calling the fake sharp call on Notre Dame. Now you're going to see this lost to Marshall outright. Look damn good against Ohio State, but they did lose outright. And they're getting hung 11 against an undefeated Cal team. And this Cal team, how have they done this year? They beat UNLV by 6 points and UC San Diego by 12 points. 19 points. But they were favored by 14 in the game, so they covered. So not looking that good, but people are going to see that Notre Dame shouldn't be -11 against anybody, right? Drew Pine's another quarterback. They're selling bad news here. A lot of people are going to buy into Notre Dame. But the big thing is no way Marcus Freeman starts 0-3, right? No way. No way they start 0. No way they start 0-3. So I think a lot of people are going to get attracted to Notre Dame this week and just banking on a bounce back start. Because one of the worst quotes I tweeted about this the other day, I hear in sports betting is they need this win. I hate that because guess what? Every single team that steps on the field, the diamond, the ice, they all want to win just as badly as anybody else. So I'm going to take Cal in the points here +11. It might have a little bit of a money line ticket in my back pocket. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to roll in the points here.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think everyone thinks Notre Dame, this is their bounce back spot. Everyone thought that last week as well. I mean, they were public heavy against Marshall as well. And I think that this is coming into the same spot. This is a line that we probably would have seen, much more inflated if they handle their business against Marshall. But at the same time, it's the same two teams stepping out onto the field as we were expecting to 2 weeks ago, minus Notre Dame's quarterback, like you said. I think Cal can hang with these guys. I'm not sure who Notre Dame beats by more than 11, but I don't think it's Cal. I'm on Cal this week straight. I actually really like Cal in this spot. I think this is a classic, like, oh my gosh, Notre Dame's going to come back and start being a world beater. No, I just don't think that is this Notre Dame team. So I like Cal here, +11. I'm probably not going to take the money line though, like Jake.
I like getting nasty with this money line in my back pockets. I had Notre Dame money line week 1. I didn't take their spread, just had the money line, and fuck, man, that was a sweat. Should have took their spread, but sometimes you get greedy. Going back to it, like I said, another conference. See a trend here. Oregon versus BYU. I'm going to be backing the Pac-12 yet again. Now, I've seen this. I've done the numbers. The Pac-12 so far this year is 11-8 against the spread, which is okay, but like that's counting Colorado, who never covers. And two of those losses are Colorado, and the other two of those losses are like 30-point spreads, or the team won by like 28. So like there's just large spreads that they just barely didn't cover. So I like to ignore those quite a bit. But this is a bettable spread. This spread is 3.5. This line opened. I don't believe that. Apparently, this line opened at BYU plus 6.5. I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think that
but
was
right
before the season.
So now I see his line at 3.5, and Oregon just got their shit kicked in. And I'm a Bo Nix guy. You see the Auburn flag? I'm a Bo Nix guy, and the reason why I'm a Bo Nix guy, and I'm not super fan biased, but I watch this guy play every week, was that it's really hard being a quarterback in the SEC when A, you don't have a run game, or B, you don't have a single receiver that's higher than 3 stars against SEC defenses. So I think he gets a lot of hate, and he looks bad against week 1. It's the same shit he had to deal with at Auburn, a defense that's so much better than your offense. He just got overwhelmed. He's not going to get overwhelmed in this spot, I think. I think Oregon's got the guys to really shoot it out there. Also, BYU just beat Baylor, right? Outright. So a lot of public bets are going to be hanging in on Baylor.
Yeah,
so I think not Baylor, BYU. Apologize. So I think Oregon's a sharp play here. I know this line open. I saw it was 4 last week. They moved down a tick, so Vegas is respecting money from BYU, but I don't think they respect it quite enough. So I'll be taking Oregon with the points at 3.5.
Yeah, this is actually the line that makes the least amount of sense to me this week. I mean, I kind of get it. I'm not really completely sure BYU deserved to cover last week. I was on BYU last week. I'm still not sure they deserve to cover. But I don't know. This is one I'm actually going to stay away from because I don't feel great having to cover 3.5 in a game that I think is going to be just so back and forth. But again, if I have to take a side here, it makes no sense why Oregon is 3.5 point favorites in this spot. So I would be on Oregon. This is exactly what we've been talking about, and I would be on Oregon here. But yeah, I'm going to stay away personally this week. I want to watch this one from an outsider's perspective, but I like Oregon.
And that's the thing about like betting these lines, betting numbers. That 3.5. Vegas puts that lines out. It's super enticing to take the underdog when it's 3.5. Just so that out. Very enticing.
Very true.
I can give a TED talk about this next game. It's Auburn Penn State. I'm gonna let you go ahead first because I'm an Auburn fan. So I want to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I came into this game kind of wanting to bet Auburn, just looking on the line. But then I was like, it's Auburn's at home, so I was like kind of excited about that. And then the more and more I thought about it, I was like, Penn State should probably not be 3-point favorites at Auburn. I feel like there's a lot of people on Auburn on this game, not like super public one way or another. I think it's pretty split, but I feel like there's a lot of people on Auburn because they are at home and because they are an SEC team and because Penn State hasn't looked that good this year. I actually think Auburn is more talented than people give them credit for, but they battled with San Jose State last week. I don't know. I like Penn State in this game. 3 is super close. It's a little sketchy. I actually teased them across the 0. I was telling Jake like something I've never done before, something so gross, but I teased Penn State across the 0. I see this being a super, super close game, but Penn State definitely all day for me. And I know I think you're on the same mindset.
I mean, I'm gonna bet Auburn money line because you can't tell by the flag I'm an Auburn fan, but I'm not gonna advise anyone to tell it. And like I mentioned earlier, this is my another fake sharp spot. You think that Auburn looks pretty shit, Penn State looks good, take Auburn with the points at home. It's pretty enticing. Like I said, betting conferences, it's really enticing to get an SEC team at home with the points. And Jordan Hare is one of the best home field advantages in college football, not the best. That place gets rocking. So to move on to the next, I'm going to briefly talk about this. We don't know much about these two teams, but Vanderbilt's plus 2.5 over in NYU. You could say conference, but people don't count Vandy's SEC school. They just don't.
Yeah, that's true.
But Vandy's look good to start this season, and it may be a little square in NIU, but they're one. Like I said, not too much about it. This line, the more I'm looking at it, kind of makes sense because Vanderbilt was a 2.5 win total team. They were, and I think this might be a spot where people are gonna. I don't know. I don't think I have a read in this game.
Only beat Eastern Illinois by 7. They struggled with Tulsa. They should have beat Tulsa. They lost, but either way, I don't know. This is a super interesting one. I'm not sure Vandy's. man, I don't know. It's gross. I'm with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I'll probably stay away as well. But my dad went to Northern Illinois, so I'll cheer for them, I guess. But it's such a gross spot. This is one I honestly strongly recommend staying away from. This is actually very, very gross. Maybe the under is the play, but I don't
That
know.
makes too much sense, I think.
We're on the sides here. We don't do totals, so.
All right, another game. This is another Pac-12 school. What do you know? I just love that in the Pac-12. Like I said briefly on this, not Washington State, Washington, the Huskies, line open at 2, creeped all the way to 3.5, and I love betting favorites at 3.5 because that underdog with that hook and the 3 is really enticing to take.
So enticing.
I mean, this is a top 10 school in the country. Peyton Thorne's already a stud. He's already one of the best players in the country, right? So Jaden Reed's the receiver. That's a stud too, right?
Yep. And then they have Jalen Berger, that Wisconsin transfer at running back.
Yeah, they're stacked.
They're stacked.
So with that being said, I love Washington minus 3.5 unranked team. This is a top 10 school.
I love it.
I'm assuming you lean the same way on that, but
absolutely.
So I'm gonna briefly touch about it. I may have 4 units on Washington.
Yeah, I love it.
I may Duke Washington.
I love it.
Here's a game I'm just gonna briefly touch on. This Texas UTSA game. UTSA looks sharp, but I think the line kind of makes sense. UTSA is a solid team, and the Texas are without Quinn Ewers, who looked really bad, but they couldn't really move the ball without him. So that's a game I like to stay away from. One thing that might be a little contrary in the game is that total at 61. That's pretty high. Thinking how bad Texas offense looked and how good their defense looked.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is a super interesting play, actually.
It's probably the over, but I'm not going to touch it because I can't hit totals to save my life.
I can't hit totals either, but I like Texas in this one as well. It makes no sense. UTSA has looked really good this year, but they have to go to Texas now. I know that's not far, but obviously a tougher place to play than Army, and they were home against Houston. So
there are 3 more games we're going to break down here. One of them is going to be TAMU, Texas A&M against Miami minus 5.5. A lot of people are selling Texas A&M. I'm not selling Texas A&M. If I wasn't a contrarian, I would, but I'm a nasty bettor. So I'm buying all the Texas A&M stock I could buy, and I love them. I'm going to ladder this Texas A&M. They're playing Miami. They're 5.5-point favorites in College Station. And it's going to be really easy to want to fade them, but I'm not going to. Personally, I'm going to buy Texas A&M all up to 14 points. I think they crush Miami.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I think they looked so gross last week, and Miami's looked pretty dang good.
And A&M was sharp last week, too. They were a sharp pick last week.
No doubt. And they looked awful. And against they couldn't move the ball on one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. So I don't know. I'm with you, man. I mean, it makes so little sense again that you have to take it. So I would look at that too. Interesting on the ladder plays there. I think something that not a lot of people think about, but I actually like this. I think it'll be a really good game, a really fun game. And I just want to see Texas A&M's offense get going. Honestly, they have a lot to prove to me.
All right, and this is one game I'm passionate about because I had Stanford plus 8.5 last week against USC, and that is one bet I am not mad about at all. I thought it was a good bet because everyone saw how good USC's offense looked. They only outgained Stanford in the first half by 20, 30 yards. Stanford was running up and down the field just with them. They just had a lot of red zone woes. And Fresno State, after they just lost to Oregon State, the Beavers, by the way, talk about a wagon. That team just doesn't lose. They refuse to lose. They were scoring up and down Oregon State. And I don't know. There's not too much to say about this game, except I just think USC are frauds. I'm not in USC yet. I'm just not.
I'm with you.
I think their defense is just butter. Nothing but butter. So I'm going to play this Fresno State plus 12.5. It's a nasty side. Caleb Williams already won the Heisman. So that ticket's already cashed. So I'm going to go ahead and just fade that. And I love Fresno State in the points.
Yeah, I love Fresno State as well. This over-under of 74 is absolutely ridiculous. You might need to look into the over there, but I love Fresno State too. I'm going to fade USC till they prove me wrong, and this is probably my last week. So maybe they prove me wrong this week, but I like Fresno State as well.
I get passionate about fading teams, bro. I feel a way about a team. That's just dude, Providence last year, I faded that team so much, kept proving me wrong, but I had to keep doing it. Yeah. So last game of the night, we're talking about. This is a Dakota Strong right here, everybody. NDSU are coming into Arizona. Is that Tempe they're at, or is that Arizona State? Doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure that's Arizona State, but fuck it. Who cares?
Okay. Who cares? They're coming to Arizona, and they are favorites. -1 at Arizona. This may be a fake sharp spot. I don't care. Give me the Bison -1. Dakota Strong, baby. I don't know how you feel about that.
Hey, shout out the Kota Sports Gambling Network. Bison -1. Shout out Pace. Shout out Pumbaa. Roommates at North Dakota State. Let's ride, baby.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for the week. Like I said, shorter podcast. Learn to get nasty. We're gonna recap all our sides and leans in the next podcast. And yeah, hope to see you guys next week.
Yes, sir. Check out our plays on Twitter, KotaCapperJD, and what's your at
Jake _Hazen 31.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.